Hello, and welcome back to the Biz Alchemist podcast. I am your host, Fallon Jordan, and I'm so excited and delighted to have my first guest of 2024 talking about the brain. So, welcome, Angie Noack. Thank you so much for being here.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited to dive in. And Angie is VP of Business Development for Brain Code Centers. They are out of Denver, Colorado. She's a licensed counselor and neuro specialist. Um, just for those of you who might be new or have just met me recently and kind of know me as my like spiritual element, the past 12 years of my life have been focused on the brain and specifically holistic ways to heal it. And it's just super near and dear to my heart. So I'm really excited to learn more about the amazing work that you're doing, Angie. So I'd love to hear just when you fell in love with the brain and just kind of your journey to where you are now in your business.
Oh, absolutely. Gosh, I fell in love with the brain at a very young age. So actually, when I was 19, I suffered a skull fracture, traumatic brain injury. I was in a walker and had to leave college for a while. And that is really when, at too young of an age, I had to become very aware of the brain and what it's capable of because my brain sustained some pretty serious injuries, right? And through a lot of different things, I recovered in many ways, learned to walk again, all of that. But even, then 10 years down the road, I was still struggling with some cognitive deficits, insomnia, and then some really serious anxiety that had kind of all stemmed from that very impactful injury, actually, and very physical injury, right? Then I was in my master's program, getting my master's in counseling, and a professor that I was close with was like, hey, you're really brain based. I know these, people doing this like brain mapping, neurofeedback thing. I should give you an intro. And so honestly, I feel like neurofeedback kind of found me. I did not find it. And it really, so I started doing neurofeedback as a practitioner. I was recruited by them after I graduated with my master's, but then I ended up doing a lot of neurofeedback personally. And I can honestly say I don't even remember what anxiety feels like. I haven't had a panic attack since. Insomnia improved drastically from there. So I knew the brain and loved the brain before, and then actually getting to be an expert in the brain and in neuro. Honestly, I believe that I probably, went through my brain injury and whatnot so that I could be, where I am today and to get to help people with brain injuries and to really recover from those and many other neurological things. So that's kind of how that started for me.
Well, that's incredible. And just living your soul mission, right? Through the power of your story
Yes.
and, taking those aligned action steps to get the best support. And if for anyone who doesn't know what neurofeedback is, would you be able to give us like a little 101 class on it?
100% yes. What the heck is brain mapping and neurofeedback? So the brain map that we utilize is kind of a baseline assessment tool to know exactly what's going on, right? It's where we direct all of our treatment. And it's a quantitative electroencephalogram map. So we put what looks like kind of a funky swim cap on people's heads. We fill it with some electrical gel, map all 19 sites, occipital, parietal, temporal lobes to see exactly what's going on. We can do that in person as well as we can do that remotely. We do have a global remote program, as well as we do have a couple brick and mortar locations in different states. But we always start with that brain map. And the way in which we're looking at it is through the lens of brain waves, because all humans are capable of producing the same brain waves. Delta, deep, slow sleep, theta, drifting into sleep. Alpha is kind of a receptor that helps push the brain around. Beta should be clean, focused energy. High beta is fight or flight. And we need it, right? We need all of those waves. If we are actually in a dangerous situation, high beta alerts our brain and tells us, holy cow, I'm not safe. I got to get the heck out of here, right? If we're trying to go to sleep at night and our brain is lit up with fast wave activity, that's never going to serve us well. So that's really what we're looking to see is what the brain is overproducing and underproducing via wave activity, and then the symptomology that goes along with that. So start with that brain map, We do a full hour-long review to go through all that data with you. And then the actual neurofeedback treatment that we do, one, is completely tailored to every person. Their brain map is a fingerprint, their treatment is a fingerprint to them, completely tailored. But it's actually operant conditioning of the brain. It is reward-based training. We're teaching the brain through exterior forms of reward stimulus, visual, auditory, tactile, of how to actually create new neural pathways in the brain. So we're ultimately rewiring the brain through technology and through reward stimulus so that people can train down things like anxiety, train out things like depression, train up things like focus and motivation and better sleep, right? We truly, our brains, like our bodies, right? If we want to get fit, we go to the gym. If we want to, do all these things, we maybe eat healthy, whatever that looks like. What do we do if we want to make our brain stronger, right? How do we increase plasticity? And neurofeedback is an incredible way to do that.
It's amazing. And I think a lot of people listening are very familiar with cortisol, right? Like you need a healthy amount of cortisol
Yeah.
points in the day. And we can talk about treating our adrenals all day long, but if you're not actually looking at the brain, then you're missing the most important piece. And so I just wanted to kind of share that because I think there's some people who feel like they are doing a lot of the right things, but like there's always additional tools, and neurofeedback is an extremely powerful tool. And as Angie has shared, I mean, she had a very significant head injury and was able to recover from that and live her soul mission as a healer, which is just so amazing.
I actually love your verbiage, just soul mission. I think that it's such a beautiful like verbiage. Just you're right that, when you're living within your calling, it's pretty powerful, and allowing things to propel you forward rather than to kind of stunt you is pretty powerful. But yes, you're right that neurofeedback, one, probably a lot of the things that people are doing are great things, right? If we're working on our hormones, if we're working on our adrenals, those are very key components. Holistic health is not a silver bullet, it's puzzle pieces, right? It's a total package of, how do I get all these things working together? Unfortunately, a lot of times we forget a really major component, which is the brain. I think about it a little bit like a computer, that if your computer needs a software update, great, give it that software update. If it has a hardware issue, we can software update all day long and it's never going to touch that hardware issue, right? Neurofeedback is getting to the hardware and really figuring out on a neurological level what's going on so that we can help you address it there.
I love it. So if someone's listening and they're like, yeah, I've kind of had like anxiety or like low grade depression. I don't necessarily know if I've had a brain injury, my hormones. Yeah, I'm working on it. I'm sure you see that all the time. So I'm curious,
All
like
the
how you would explain what makes this different and just, going through the statistics of brain injury and like kind of how you pitch and educate your clients on stuff like that.
Oh my gosh, completely. So, how I would kind of, address it, because really in our society in general, when we are dealing with specifically mental health, right? Let's not say brain injuries, let's just say mental health,
Yeah.
anxiety, depression, ADD, trauma, PTSD. Usually, if we go to a doctor or a psychiatrist, many times, not always, but many times, our options are medication or counseling, right? Now, I'm a counselor, right? I'm an LPC licensed counselor. I believe in the power of talk therapy. However, right, sometimes we can talk ourselves to death and it's not going to make neurological change,
Yeah.
right? That, okay, I know my triggers. When I have a panic attack, what do I do? Neurofeedback is how do I keep from getting there in the first place? And medication, I believe there's a time and a place, right? I believe as a society we are highly over medicated. And honestly, I think that medication really is okay, here is a short-term fix to find the long-term solution.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we use medication as a long-term solution and we just keep adding. I see people come in on 3 different benzos and an SSRI and this, and I'm like, oh my heavens, that this is countering this is countering this and whatnot. And I just think that that's a pretty tough medication management cycle versus your brain is capable of doing it on its own, right? It just doesn't know how, but it can be taught. And that's the difference with neurofeedback is we can teach your brain to do it on its own.
And it's really fun. Like neurofeedback is actually really fun. That's why a lot of kids like it. So if you want to share
Yes.
a little bit more about what it's like to have your little swim cap on and like what you're actually doing and
Oh my gosh, neurofeedback is so fun. It's fun and it's easy and it's passive.
Yeah.
So we basically visually, kind of what you can experience. One, if you come in office, we're going to place a few small silver electrodes on your head. There's never any electrical stimulus going into your brain, right? We are not shocking your brain in any way. Nothing is going in. The electrodes are only picking up information, right? Monitoring and reading what the brain is doing. If you're doing remote neurofeedback, you actually have a headset that we send you that you put on. It has all of the electrodes already embedded into it. But visually, you can play brain games. They kind of look like video games, but you don't have a remote control. You are controlling it with your brain, which is sick, right? Like, so freaking cool. I also have different shows that people can watch. So it really should be that very passive, what I would consider enjoyable form of learning.
Yeah.
However, when I say though that someone's brain is controlling it, I don't mean their thoughts, right? As ultimately, our thoughts are not controlling as much as we think that they are, right? We could tell ourselves all day long, I'm going to have the best day tomorrow. No anxiety, no depression. I'm going to sleep so good tonight. It's going to be the best. Well, that sounds great, right?
Yeah.
That's dope. Yeah, just do that.
Yeah.
And then tomorrow comes and I'm riddled with anxiety. I feel so low. I slept terrible. Well, what the heck? I told myself I wasn't going to do that.
Yeah.
Well, our thoughts are not controlling that, right? Those automatic neurological highways take over, and the brain is going to take the path of least resistance. So, again, not erasing old, creating new.
So amazing. What are some of your favorite people to help?
Gosh, me personally, I love working with brain injuries because, I see people come in and one, if you've ever, met somebody who's had a pretty severe TBI, a lot of times, they might still have, cognitive deficits that you experience when you talk to them, maybe a slow gaunt, things like that. Maybe they, did have physical altercations that, that didn't heal over time, things like that, so I just love being able to offer hope, that when people are 10 years down the road or 15 years down the road and have been told this is just what it's going to be, then I'm like, hey, that isn't the answer, that is not the end all be all. That, let's try. The brain is always neuroplastic. It's always willing to change. I would say one of the most common things that we treat is anxiety. As I have, experienced anxiety in the past on a pretty significant level, I love it because I honestly, Rachel, my business partner slash bestie, and I joke about, I'm like, anxiety is a slam dunk. I'm like, get ready to have your world changed.
Yeah.
That other people come in on a 10 scale of anxiety, leave with a 1, so I just like anxiety. I'm like, oh, let's get rid of it. Like that is not your story. That is not the rest of your life. You do not have to live that way. So, but we train so many things with neurofeedback. Those are just a couple that are probably faves of mine.
I love that. And I love that you're also a counselor because I know for me, like going from like very distracted, very depressed, very anxious to relatively quickly, like with neurofeedback and hyperbaric oxygen, some of these other things, like not
Yes.
having that, you're almost becoming a different person. And like that therapy coaching piece is so important. Like, oh, this is the kind of person I am now. Like, I don't take 13 minutes to just figure out what I'm going to wear today. Like, I just immediately know what I'm going to wear today.
Yeah. And I hear that I actually get the question from people like, is this going to change my personality? Is this going to change who I
Yeah.
am? And I always counter them with actually, I believe that neurofeedback is going to allow you to be who you truly were created to be, right?
Exactly.
That I don't think you were created to be someone who's crippled with anxiety, has horrible depression, is so under focused and under motivated, right? Like, I don't think that's who you are. So, if anything, I think neurofeedback can unlock your authenticity, right? And who you actually were meant to be versus what these other things have kind of, inhibited you in.
Yeah, I know for me, like, and a lot of people I've worked with, that a lot of the anxiety was the fear of change or new things, new environments. And when you
Yeah.
start realizing that like change means that you're transforming, change means that you are living more in your authenticity, like that's such a beautiful thing to experience.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Embracing change and allowing change and saying, hey, now if where you're at is awesome, that's one thing. But a lot of people will stay stuck in really bad situations for fear that something worse is going to happen versus
Yes.
rather than going, but what if something exponentially better can happen, right? And really focusing on that positivity versus being stuck in fear and not allowing our brains to inhibit us versus how do we accept and allow our brains to push us forward.
I love that. Yeah, that's so important. And I think going into this amazing new year, like people are like, I want to experience this and I want to experience that. And it's like, how are you spending most of your time, right? Like, what are you doing for work? What are you doing to make money? What are those relationships like? What are your personal relationships like? And yeah, a lot of people are like, well, what if I don't get another job and I make less money doing something I don't like as much? And it's like, no, like if you're following your truth and committed to this work of taking care of your brain and taking care of your heart and prioritizing your soul path, like things are just going to be better than you could ever imagine. This is really cool. So on my way home from the gym today, I saw a license plate of this big, beautiful, brand new Cadillac Escalade, and the actual license plate said "Dream Bigger." And I was like,
Yes,
how freaking cute is that? That someone
I love
went out of their way to pay extra for a vanity plate to remind every single person that they drive by that like always dream bigger. I just thought that was really cute.
Oh, so inspirational. And that's exactly that we say it, but then, it's honestly that's anxiety provoking, that's fear provoking to get out of your comfort zone, to push yourself harder, to fall down and to fail and to not allow that to inhibit you, right? To have the tenacity to then get back up and try again, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, I love that message.
So awesome. Yeah. Cause I mean, I don't know about you, but every mentor I've worked with or like intuitive reading I've had, it's like, you're not thinking big enough. It's like, you're saying you want this, we're thinking way bigger. And it's like, oh,
Huh.
wow. Like that's kind of crazy. Like you within your business partner's practice, like, how did that kind of come about and to where it is now where you can literally help anybody anywhere? Like that just like is so amazing.
Yeah, Rachel started Brain Code Centers about probably a decade ago, and she had a personal experience with neurofeedback that she was young and reckless and having doing a lot of stuff that she maybe shouldn't have been doing, and her parents were going, what the heck is going on, at 15, at 17, why are you so impulsive, why are you so reckless? And fortunately, they said, I don't know if meds are the answer, let's get you some help in other ways. And she did a brain map, and her prefrontal cortex was just running so fast that she literally couldn't slow down to think about the consequences of actions, right?
Yeah.
And so she ended up doing a series of neurofeedback sessions and absolutely transformed her life, and went on to get an undergraduate degree, a master's degree, owns a company, has a beautiful family. So her and I both have kind of a neurofeedback changed our lives in this way story. And we actually ended up meeting professionally, and very much aligning on vision, right? That, hey, this is what we want to do, and this is how we want to impact the world. So we get to work together every day and to impact people with neurofeedback. We actually tour the country and do keynote speaking on brain health and mental wellness. And yeah, it's honestly, it when people talk about the Sunday scaries of like, oh, my job, I'm like, I don't know what that is, but because I love what I do, and I love getting to educate people on neurofeedback in whatever way that I can.
I love that so much. Do you have any exciting gigs coming up that we should know about?
Oh gosh, we have we have a lot of stuff coming. Rachel just had her second baby. So we don't, 10 pounds, 23 inches. What?
Oh my God.
What? Uh, when
It's
I
a
first
healthy
had a baby, I
baby.
mean, she has like a 5-month old. So there's that. He's absolutely perfect and wonderful. So actually, we don't have anything booked as of right now, which the holidays in the first of the year are not times for conferences, but
Yeah.
everything will be posted on our Instagram and on our website at Brain Code Centers, braincodecenters.com as soon as we do. I love doing talks here. I just did several keynotes in November here in Denver. And that's so fun because it's my backyard,
Yeah.
and kind of it kind of trickles into business here. So that's super fun for me.
I love that. One of my dear friends and clients like already outlined our conference schedule for 2024. So I'm like
Yes.
asking everybody, I'm like, what are you doing? Are we going to be in the same place? What are you doing? Where are you going?
Oh my gosh, that's so fun. No, I am so excited to get some stuff on the books. I'm a traveler. I love, like, every month I'm like, where am I going this month? What's happening? So yeah, I love that.
So fun.
Yes. But yeah, that's kind of what we have coming up. I mean, business wise, our remote program is just taken off like crazy. And honestly, I think
Yeah.
that's kind of the coming out of COVID mentality, right? That people are like, hey,
Yeah.
I want freedom. I want to be able to do things remotely. And that's, I mean, I have people training in Dubai, in Canada, all over the world doing neurofeedback with us, which it like blows my mind to this day, right? That we can have reach and we can have, you know, impact in other countries. So that's probably a little bit more the focus right now, is just making sure that remote is just kicking it.
So I'm kind of oblivious to a lot of things that happen in the world, but I have heard so many things about Dubai being this major epicenter for mental health and holistic brain health. Like I keep hearing Dubai, 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 like
Yeah.
with all of this, like the neurofeedback and hyperbaric oxygen and
Yeah.
supplements, and it's really cool.
Oh, no, and Dubai is actually very progressive in that way. You know, if I would say that, even, you know, for how far away it is and whatnot, in their culture is pretty incredible. Yeah, in more holistic health. So, and I don't honestly, you know, I'm sure that there are amazing neurofeedback practitioners there doing great neurofeedback, but we're one of, if not the largest neurofeedback company in the country, and you know that we are leading in a lot of the technology that we're doing. So blessed to be, you know, helping blaze a trail in that way.
I love that. And the headband that you showed, if you guys are listening and not watching on YouTube, like it's so cute. I would totally wear
It's
that.
so, oh my gosh, it's so cute. Yeah, just
So cute.
slap it on and, you know, be able to do your sessions. If you follow us on Instagram, we have, you know, tons of people doing neurofeedback, and I love when people will like tag and, you know, doing my session today, getting in my neuro. It's so cool,
Yay.
and I think it just breaks the stigma, right, of mental health, and of, you know, like, oh, you know, I go to counseling, don't tell anybody, right? That, oh, I do neuro. No, shout it from the rooftops, right? That you're changing your life, you're impacting your brain, you're investing in yourself. Share that with everyone.
Yeah. And when people start realizing that taking care of your brain now can actually, when especially doing the right things, like your brain can actually decrease in age. So even if you're just like, I'm so healthy, it's like you can still be using it as an anti-aging tool. You can use it as a dementia prevention program. Like there's just so much that goes into it. But again, like we've just been conditioned not to really think about our brain. Like nobody asks you questions about your brain. My friend's I'm gonna have him on the pod. He works with athletes, and
Yeah.
he has this really funny way that he starts his talks, because it's all high school, college guys just thinking they're so
Yeah.
cool, they're in the weight room all the time, and he'll point
Okay.
to different muscles in the body and have them name it, and they're like, of course that's a bicep, like of course that's a quadricep, but then he points to their brain and they're like, what's going on up here? And everyone's like, it's like, yeah, that's actually the most important thing for you to be paying attention to. And I'm so glad that we're having this conversation and you're doing this amazing work, because we really need to be talking about it. Like the brain heart cohesion, the brain heart health, like it's all connected. Anything good for your heart is going to be good for your brain and vice versa.
Yeah.
And there's just so many beautiful things that are coming in 2024 specifically, like just spiritually, that like we're so ready to be like actually turned on, and like turning your brain on is like one of the most important things to do, so that you're running on all the cylinders available to you, and like turning on those dormant neural pathways, or toning down the over communication of the traumatized areas, right? Like I literally just think of those videos where you see the neurons firing in all these different areas, and it's like, what if you could have more of your brain functioning exactly how you want it to be functioning? And like neurofeedback, such an amazing, fun, easy, relaxing. Like I loved watching Planet Earth when I was doing my stuff.
Nice.
It's so fun.
It is so fun. It is so easy. I honestly think it can be kind of intimidating because it's the brain, right? And that's also what we're trying to do, is, you know, destigmatize, you know, what it is. And you're right. I work with a ton of athletes now, because we're kind of seeing, I mean, that documentary on Netflix just came out called The Quarterback, and you
Yeah.
have these quarterbacks doing neurofeedback, and it's like, wait, you know, what is this? And this is not a new thing. Neurofeedback is, you know, I hear from people, oh my gosh, did this just come out? No, neurofeedback started in like the 40s. You know, we've
Yeah.
always had access to it. I just think that now people are realizing, if you want the edge, right? You're super fast, you're amazing, you're such a skilled athlete. how do you get that edge, right? How do you be the better athlete?
Right.
If your head case, right, golf is, a really easy one to utilize, that you see these professional golfers, you get to hole 18, you are 15 strokes down, you're about to win, $20 million, and you hit a bad tee shot. You have about 10 minutes from walking from your tee shot to your next shot. In that time, are you going to fall apart? In that time, do you transition into fight or flight? In that time, are you losing it? Right? The better athlete is the one who is also mentally and neurologically tough. And so that's, tennis, football, we're working, hockey, some, for concussion recovery, but a lot of times just because these athletes know that the way to have the edge is through the brain, right? That you might be on equal playing field athletically, body wise with all these other people. So how do you get that edge? And it's your brain.
Yeah. 100%. I love that. And shout out to anyone who golfs. I just think it's like amazing because it takes so much focus. And yeah, like I've seen quite a few professional golfers and like their anxiety levels, like anything I've ever seen. I'm like, you poor thing. Like, let's take care of your brain.
You poor thing. Actually, Rachel and I golf. We're golfing partners, and I mean,
God.
we're not professionals. Let's like not even tease. But it is a head game. No
Yeah.
question. It is like the biggest place that you're playing it is freaking between your ears. It is a tough sport.
Yeah. That is amazing. Well, I'm so excited for all of your insight and all the beauty and specifically beautiful brains that you are creating in the world and so much healing. I will put some links below for how to get in touch with Angie and her amazing services. Like she shared, you can literally do this from the comfort of your home once you have your little map of your brain mapped out. Is there anything you'd like to share in closing?
I just want to offer that Rachel and I do 100% of the consultations for brain code centers, and not normally do the VP and the owner and everything are doing those, but those
Yeah.
are that education piece is just so close to our hearts. They are 100% free. So I never want to charge anything for someone to find out what's available to them. So if you have additional questions, DM us on Instagram, go to our website at Brain Code Centers, braincodecenters.com, and we'd love to pop on a 45-minute consultation, get to know you a little bit, and determine if this is a good, kind of next step for you.
That is amazing. And I will put all of that for you guys in the show notes, but it's a very generous offer. And when we're talking about the brain, one of the things that I've learned is it's a complex organ, but it really doesn't have to be that complex. You just need to talk to someone who knows what they're talking about and someone that you trust. And this is such a beautiful organization to get involved with.
Awesome. Oh, Fallon, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It's been wonderful.
Thank you so much. I am sending you lots of love and blessings for 2024. And of course, everyone listening, and definitely click the links below so that you can get access to more of this amazing insight from Angie and her team.
Thank you.
Next time.